Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am your host, What's Real Reviews. Today, we're going to talk about some Marvel movies today. And I thought of, let's how to watch the MCU in the chronology order. I know that it has a good story point throughout the Infinity War to the Multiverse of Saga one. Like, we can get into this, but even though it's going to be a fun one, but let me know in the comments below, how do you guys watch the MCU, by the chronology order or by the release day? So, let's talk about it. So we're going to kick off in phase 1, is they will introduce the young version of Nick Fury and Agent Coulson. It's in Captain Marvel. I know this movie came out later on in phase 3. It does have a good breaking point with how they were introduced, being at the whole story arc of Captain Marvel, and since like how this whole thing going on with the Skrulls and everything else. It was so cool to see how this movie did play it out. Then after the events of Captain Marvel, it actually hits into Captain America, the first Avenger movie. This movie by far was a really fun to introduce Steve Rogers, Red Skull, and the whole story in World War II theme-like movie of how Steve became the puny Steve to the Captain America that he actually enjoys playing as him. Then after the events of Captain America, we hit Iron Man, the first one. This movie did bring out the whole story with how the Avengers came to plan of Tony Stark, and the main villain was Obadiah Stane. Like, it seemed like how this whole movie was involved in phase 1. Then after that one, we actually hit into the Incredible Hulk movie. Like, don't get me wrong, this movie was a bit of a fun one. The fun element of surprises of how Tim Roth was involved in William Hood. Like, since he passed, even though now we have a new actor to play him, was Harrison Ford in the new Captain America movie coming out later on next year. Yeah, this movie was kind of interesting to watch, but a fun Buddha movie. Then after that, it hits up to Iron Man 2. This is where all comes into plan. Nick Fury was introduced in this movie, and same as Natasha Romanoff tried to recruit Tony to be part of the Avengers Initiative. It has the whole story point to understand the whole story for phase 1. Then after that one, it actually hits the Asgardians, the first Mighty Thor movie. Thor was kind of more of a Asgardian, the whole involving in a different world outside of the MCU, because he was part of this whole Asgard. Since what's going on with him, he was not worthy to hold the hammer. Came to Earth, met the girl of his dreams, but the whole thing changed when Loki got involved. Seeing like how Loki can defeat Thor to save Odin. Deep down, it was kind of cool to see how the story did end it, because it leads into the big end part of phase 1, the Avengers. And this is actually ended phase 1. It has the whole Avengers teaming up, taking down Loki and the Chitauri, the main army of Loki. It was cool how that movie did play it out. After the events of the Avengers, we hit into phase 2 now. Iron Man 3. This is where everything changed the course of Tony Stark. Like, it was cool to see like how this whole movie did was more introduced to the Andrew Killian, the main villain. And it does have the whole point of him giving up his suits to make him Tony Stark again. Then after that event, we have Thor: The Dark World. This is actually more involved with Malekith, the whole feeling of how this movie was a bit of a different point of reality, because this introducing to the stones. The first stones was introduced in phase 1, the Mind Stone, and now the Reality Stones was in this one. It was cool to see like now seeing the Infinity Stones come to plan. Same in this one. Was kind of interesting to see that movie did play it out. Then after that, we hit into the Captain America movies again. The Winter Soldier. Now this movie did pick up from the end of the first Avenger movie with Bucky Barnes. He came back as the Winter Soldier to take down Captain America, as we know, his long lost friends is what happened. The events of Captain America, the first adventure movie. He came back to take down Nick Fury, the Shield HQ. Everything changed. Hydra came to play to take over Shield. It was insane. It was so awesome to see that one happened. Now we're going to head into the space part of the MCU. To introduce the Guardians of the Galaxy movie with Drax, Rocket, Groot, Gamora, and Star-Lord. This movie was by far one of my favorite ones in Phase 2 overall. Like, it was cool to see like this whole Guardians of the Galaxy got involved. It was so fun to see how this whole movie did played out with Thanos and wanting the Q-Soul. It was good to see Thanos in this one. Then after that, it leads into the next story, Volume 2. Now this literally did pick up from after the first Guardians movie of we got to know more of the story of Star-Lord's dad. As you know, the planet Ego. That's where everything did change. The main villain was him. This whole thing got involved with Star-Lord and the team. It was cool overall. It was a fun story to see like how this whole Mantis was involved in this one too, because she was kind of like in the scene take to join the team for Guardians. It was such a fun story. Then after that, we have another Avengers movie, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now this was an interesting take of another Avengers movie. It was actually a good point to see Ultron come into play with Tony Stark and Bruce Banner invented Ultron with Jarvis, and this whole thing really changed the course of history of Sokovia. The whole thing, everything was changing the MCU of how more new characters involved. Wanda was introduced in this one, and Quicksilver, the brother and sister. Then after that event, we actually hit on Ant-Man. Ant-Man was actually a really cool character. I like Paul Rudd to play him. Like, we have the whole story with us him being like more of a heist kind of a hero, like, because he steals, and in the end he became good to take down Yellow Jacket, the main villain. Overall, like, the whole point of this one depicts into the end of Phase 2. Civil War. This is where Steve Rogers, Hawkeye, recruited Ant-Man to take on the Iron Man's team, and this will introduce to more characters: Black Panther, Spider-Man. Wanda came back and joined Captain America's side. It has a lot of good moments in that movie. By one of my other favorite ones in Phase 3. Then, now we're gonna open up in Phase 3 after the events of Civil War. Black Widow was have his own movie. She was on the run from Civil War, and everything did change. We have a lot of new story about Natasha's childhood, growing up, how she became the assassination as Black Widow. Then after that one, we have Spider-Man: Homecoming, the first movie with Spider-Man, and also under the influence of Tony Stark, tried to make him better, like Tony is. Like the first two movies Tony Stark was in Iron Man, he wants Peter Parker to become the better person than him. I love how they did the story. Overall, like, fun movie, duo heroes in their own movies. Spider-Man: Homecoming was great. Michael Keaton as Vulture, spot on. Now after that Spider-Man movie, we head into Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, a newer hero in his own movie. The whole story about Dormammu, the Dark Dimension thing, was kind of cool to see, like, how this movie was involved with the Infinity Saga. With Thanos is on the way to take all of them down. But overall, with Doctor Strange was a cool, fun movie. I have seen this movie more than once or twice. It was a good story. I think you guys will like that one. Then after that, we have Black Panther. Yes, a new country, Wakanda. Black Panther, we have him in his own movie as well, since the offense of Civil War, since what happened with his father, T'Challa. As you know, the offense of what happened in that whole meeting that what they had in Civil War, this whole show really brings T'Challa become Black Panther. And then Thor Ragnarok right after Black Panther. This movie was more interesting to see how this movie did play out. Like, we have Hela, the sister, and Odin and Loki came in to play with this story with Thor. Like, Loki has a mischief part of Thor, because since the whole part of how Loki and Thor was like adopted brother, but this whole thing with Odin, he passed on. The villain, the sister, Hela came into plan, and Sakaar, and Hulk, and Valkyrie, everything came into play to take down Hela and to cause Ragnarok, to make it happen on Asgard. Then after that event, we actually had into Infinity War, another Avengers movie. Now this movie did come into play with Thanos' book. Because for one thing, because he was trying to rise up to get all the stones and destroy half of the population between everything dusted to dust. Like everyone go away by the single snap by Thanos, and then everything changed in this whole movie. Then after that event, we actually have Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie comes in between Infinity War and Endgame, because this actually was in the middle part of Infinity War. Like, Ant-Man and the Wasp, this was actually a bit of a fun movie because I liked how they did it, the story of Ghost, how this whole movie did play out. Then now we hit into Endgame here. This was by far a really interesting story of they brought back Ant-Man back from the whole quantum realm and start this whole time heist to stop Thanos before taking over the whole world itself. Thanos is on his retirement planet, and Captain Marvel came into this whole movie to try to save this whole universe. And from deep down, this whole time heist story was more like seeing like how this whole movie was involving. Thanos came back from 2014 from Guardians to the present time to take down everyone. Again, like, it has a good story, really great moments in action. Then to end it, Phase 3 was actually Far From Home, the Spider-Man movie. Like, it does have a good moment to see like how this whole movie did play it out with Spider-Man, with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I did like him a lot in this one because he was like himself, acting like a goofball, like, and it was a bit of an interesting story. Now we're entering in Phase 4. So we're going to enter the whole Eternals story arc, and I don't even know much about this movie because I've seen this movie only once before, maybe twice. Like, it was interesting to see how this whole different kind of heroes in the MCU in Phase 4. And after that is Shang-Chi and the Lessons of the Ten Rings. I like this movie because I like how they got involved with newer heroes in Phase 4 right now. Like this Shang-Chi, the Eternals, everything changed to the Multiverse saga. Then we have Thor, the Love and Thunder movie. And this was actually a bit of an interesting take of Gore the God Butcher. As we know, Christian Bale played as him. Like, everything was a little bit more darker later on in the middle part of the movie to bring it out really, really strong to make it epic. Then after that one, we hit actually Spider-Man No Way Home, the third movie for Spider-Man. And this was by far one of the most interesting take of a great story. So in this one, because he went to meet Doctor Strange to help to erase everyone's minds that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. But things did change a lot in that point. We have all the OG Spider-Man villains. The Spider-Man came into play in this whole movie. It was somehow insane. Like, this whole story was amazing to see. J.K. Simmons was in this one. This whole part was epic. Then after that, we head into the Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness movie since the after the events of No Way Home. And this was actually pretty of an interesting story arc of how this movie did play out in the whole multiverse saga. American Chavez was in this one too, the young girl, and the main villain was Wanda Maximoff after the events of WandaVision. And then we actually have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Actually, this is probably the end of Phase 4. And now we're entering in Phase. We're about to close off Phase 4. We have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the third story of this movie. Well, it's pretty cool to see how this movie did play out. And this whole story part of this whole movie was so cool to see, like how they moved on from what happened with the after the events of Endgame, since Kamala left and everything else. It was interesting. Then after that one, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now this movie was more interesting to see how this movie did play out. It was cool to see how this movie was more interesting into the quantum realm with Kang the Conqueror involved, with Jonathan Majors was in this one. And I like this movie just a little bit because the whole plot point was somehow interested. The last thing off to close off the MCU is the Marvels, and yes, this movie was a bit weird because this is part of the events after the Secret Invasion story arc to lead it into the Marvels movie. So that's actually all the whole movies in the MCU to watch in the chronology way. Thank you all for coming to Butch Radio Reviews, everyone. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.